Greetings Internet, DDA here, and welcome to the final two first look deck profile videos that we are going to push out for you before we start getting into the real meat of the content of this set and release match videos and competitive deck videos. But these are the first looks that we're taking on the new leaders of the set Secrets of Power to be released, I think, early next week. Technically, we are not even released yet. I think it's around November 8th that the set gets released. But we're taking this time in pre-releases and running all these limited events to really learn about the cards and understand the power level of the set. Overall, the set has a great power level, like an incredibly high power level. A lot of people were saying this was going to be the Twilight of the Republic or the set 3 of this block. Completely disagree. There were so many powerful cards released in this set and so many powerful leaders, including the Leia Organa leader. Now, if you played a lot of Limited in the last set, Leia is going to look familiar to you. She's very similar to the Snoke leader that released in the 4th set. Similar stat line, also comes out on 6 and also has this cascading experience that you're going to gain on your units and potentially on Leia herself. That makes Leia a very powerful leader, a very strong leader. You can often win the game off of the Leia flip alone. Much like Snoke, Leia also has this ability to make 1-drops very powerful, because turn 1 you can play a 1-drop and then activate Leia power turn 1. Now, we did build this deck with the colors in mind, because you have to keep the color wheel of your deck in your mind as you're building, and that is definitely a deck building check for Leia, and something you have to keep in mind when you're adding or removing cards, that not only does the color breakdown of your deck matter, but also the difference between, playing neutral blue and neutral green cards versus heroic blue and heroic green cards. All of these things matter for Leia. So we stayed very neutral. You could see there's a lot of neutral colored cards in here, and that is by design in order to give us the best chance of activating Leia ability every single turn. Now, to get into this, I want to talk about those 9 1-costers that we do play, and that is the Moisture Farmer, the Populist Advisor, and the Senator's Aide. All 3 of these cards are slightly misleading in Leia because they are going to have 1 stat higher turn 1. So the Moisture Farmer is actually going to be a 1/5 Restore 2 turn 1, which is just insane. This is a Leia official deck, an official tribal deck, so the Moisture Farmer is a little bit out of place here, but I think it's the only non-official that I play in the entire deck. Oh, there's one other that we'll get into, but I think Moisture Farmer is strong enough. Again, 1/5 Restore 2 on turn 1 is just absolutely cracked. And then, of course, that Populist Advisor is going to be a little bit more power, the 2/5 stat line, with the added ability to become a Sentinel in those aggressive matchups. The Senator's Aide is going to be there to push damage for you, come out as a 1/4 with the potential to be a 3/4. Very strong turn 1, so we have a lot of power here with these 9 1-costers to work with. We have power cards like High Command Counselor and the Chancellor's Sponsor. These are 2-drops that you're likely going to play on turn 2 with an additional Leia power. Pretty much you're always going to be playing this deck off curve, so the curve is built a little lower as you would expect, because you're going to constantly be using Leia power. Leia power is always going to be there for you to buff up and push in for you. This is an aggressive mid-range style deck that I built. This is not a control deck. You're not going to be looking for the game to last much longer than Leia flip. You really should be ending the game either on Leia flip or the turn after Leia flip. So we have that strong power push on the board turn 2, either the High Command Counselor or the Chancellor's Sponsor. We also, of course, have Mina Bontari in here and Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks is going to be excellent to kind of bolster up your deploy and make your deploy stronger, so there's going to be nothing that your opponent can disrupt you with. Also, Jar Jar is a neutral green card, which fits so well in our ability to be able to use Leia power. Of course, I couldn't make an official tribal deck without adding Orn-Free Taa in here. He's just a powerhouse, and the power of both budget scheming and legal authority is shown here. Again, I talked about Legal Authority and its ability to be just an excellent removal card in the Tarkin deck because you have this building experience. So when you have a deck that builds experience, builds up the power of its units, it's very easy to use Legal Authority as kind of a catch-all, end-all, be-all removal card that only costs 2 resource and gives HP. One of the differences, though, between the Leia deck and the Tarkin deck is, of course, I talked about how the trade route taxation isn't great in Tarkin because he comes out on 5. Well, that's different with Leia. Leia is actually so powerful that you can end the game with Leia alone, pretty much. So the trade route taxation card is a premium in here, a very strong ad. It would be very good for you to push in with trade route taxation on the flip turn. Another thing I want to talk about is our ability to run Regional Governor in here at 3 and not be like one of those cards that pulls the deck down to give us some tech ability. It gives us the tech ability, but it actually is a monster ad in here, you know, enabling our ability to Leia, enabling all the official combos, and just being there for you to be kind of a catch-all in every matchup. You know, name that Super Laser Blast, name that Rivals Fall, name whatever you want so you can just push in and win. The next thing I want to talk about is, of course, the powerful Axe Wolves in here. We have a few units that are not officials, but the units that we have that are not officials are crazy powerful in here. Axe Wolves is such a bomb in Leia because every time you Leia power, you're giving him 2 power. It's not just 1, it's 2 because of Axe Wolves' ability. So make this guy a 6/6, an 8/8, a 10/10 super quickly and just push in and win the game. Of course, we still have Admiral Akbar for combos. We got Senator Chuchi in here. This is an official deck. You know that she's going to be in here. This deck is light on space, so in fact, it plays no space. Spoiler alert. Is that the final version of this deck? Maybe not. Maybe you work in some space. I didn't really feel like it was necessary because I felt like Leia's ability to push in and the incredible amount of restore that we have, like we have the 3 Moisture Farmers, the Chancellor Sponsor, and Senator Chuchi in here, all restoring 2 or 3 HP every time they attack. With all that restore and damage and closing out with the Renowned Dignitaries, I felt like this deck had enough burst healing with the Data Vault to just be able to tank the space aggro decks. And then you got like the Legal Authority and the Fell the Dragon in there just to kill the big stuff that you're really worried about. A card that I really like and I think has huge power potential in here is the Figure of Unity card. Such a strong card, especially in Leia. It only costs 3, so that gives you an ability to Leia power, deploy, plot trade route taxation to protect your Leia, and then plop on the Figure of Unity card on Leia, buffing up Leia to, I don't even know at that point, and then just pushing in like, I don't even know, 20 damage on the Leia flip turn. Easy mode. So there is a chance that we go up on Figure of Unity just because this is a go wide deck and it does go light in space, so you may need that extra restore, but something to consider moving forward. We also have Queen Amidala in here as a powerhouse mid-game bomb to drop down. 3 units on a single play is huge. Definitely the best card of Secrets of Power. I think all of the content creators are in agreement that Queen Amidala is the best card of the set. I don't think that I need to talk much more about it. She's just a crazy, crazy bomb. I talked already about the Renowned Dignitaries, but I also want to talk about the Lando in here as another bomb healing card. You know, you can choose your 1-drops, you can choose your Jar Jar Binks, you can choose your weak units, and then just get that burst healing, and then have this powerful unit that you can push more damage with. This deck has such healing, it's stuffed with such healing and damage, that I really do feel we can get away with, like, playing no space. And then, of course, we do have the Bo-Katan in there as just a final late-game bomb. If we do happen to last that long, if they drop a Snoke on us and we really need something that's going to kind of close us out for us and help us win the game, well, that's what Bo-Katan is for. She'll come out and she'll kind of clear the field and help us seal the game if we kind of lose control. The last thing I want to talk about in Leia is our ability to play off aspect cards, but not only our ability to play off aspect cards, but the promotion of off aspect cards in Leia. Because an off aspect card, specifically a neutral off aspect card, gives us the ability to Leia always. And I do that in this deck with off aspect Surprise Strike for 4. Now you might be asking yourself, DDA, you're going to reveal that Surprise Strike to your opponent, and you're kind of showing your hand, right? Like, you're like, hey, I have this Surprise Strike just to let you know at any point in the game, I can Surprise Strike you. And you may think to yourself that that's a bad thing. Why would I want to give my opponent that information? Maybe I should pick a different card, off aspect that I could play that would not be so revealing. But actually, I'm thinking the opposite. I'm thinking I'm going to scare my opponent with this Surprise Strike. I'm going to choose to disclose, and when you're choosing to disclose for your opponent, there's a lot of mind games that you can play with your opponent. You know, especially, like, one of my favorite things to do is show my opponent the same card over and over again, and I'll say, like, oh, here's that card you know about, here's that card you know about, because I want them to feel like they're not getting anything from this disclose. But another way you can play mind games with your opponent is by showing them a card that you might not necessarily play at all. The off-aspect Surprise Strike is strong enough in here, and this deck pushes a mid-game strong strategy that Surprise Strike is definitely worth 4 and has closed me several games. However, you know, your ability to take out units with an extra 3 damage will scare your opponent. They will be thinking in their head, oh, he can Surprise Strike that unit for 8, or he can Surprise Strike that unit for 7 and take out this unit. You're not going to. You're going to be pushing base. But they might think that. And that is the power of Disclose, and you need to keep that in mind when you're playing a leader that's giving your opponent information. The information flow, you're in the driver's seat. You're in control. So make that decision with purpose. So I think Leia is actually stronger than Snoke because Snoke is limited of what you can give experience, and Leia is not. Leia is just a deck building check, and that's the big difference. Leia is far more open than Snoke. She doesn't have to give the experience to a villainy unit. That gave us the ability to give experience to all these neutral cards that are incredibly strong. So I think Leia is actually going to be more of a meta impact than Snoke was. I think we're going to be seeing some strong Leia decks in the competitive scene. So if you like this video, we have another first look deck profile coming tomorrow, our last first look deck profile of the set. We came out with about 8 or 10 first look deck profiles. I hope you enjoyed them. But our last one is coming tomorrow, and that is a old leader that we are updating with the new cards. It's going to be a spicy one, so stay tuned. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe for all the best gaming guides, deck profile videos, and match videos coming. And as always, turn your dial to Random Number Gaming.